Hola fool, it's Papi Diego. And today guys, we'll be looking at 15 advanced tips so you guys can win more of your ranked games. So get ready for something long and lengthy because here at the Papi Diego channel, we do long form educational content with no bullshit. So do your best queso impression and grab some food, or you can play me in the background while you go do some other stuff because you're about to get hit with some knowledge. And by the way, if you want to enter my second battle pass giveaway, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Now the first tip we're going over today, which is a big one for this season, and that is breaking enemy utility. Now what I'm talking about here is I'm talking about Ults, Loki clones, Loki lamps, to even name more squids. These are 3 heroes that got buffed this season, so you'll see them significantly in ranked. It is part of your responsibility. If you see these things, you shoot them. Some players tend to get caught up in the, oh, it's not my job to shoot them, so I'm not going to shoot them. But if you have the opportunity to shoot them, please shoot them. Especially if you have multiple enemy heroes that all have these pieces of utility, so it's going to take a team effort to get rid of them. And the easiest way to take them out is actually if you play more of Moon Knight. Moon Knight is especially good at these because of his primary fire being able to bounce off of these pieces of utility. So you can effectively use this utility to your advantage. So if the enemy team is going Namor or Loki, if not both, you can switch to Moon Knight knowing that you will have basically free unks on the floor due to Loki lamps, Loki clones, or Namor squids. If you see one of these heroes as a Moon Knight main, you should be salivating at the lips when you see them. It's literally free damage for you and you're helping your team so much by taking these things out. This is the season where these heroes are thriving, so make sure you take out these pieces of utility. Now another thing that is thriving in this season, just like from last season, are team ups. Specifically the Hulk and Iron Man combo. This combo did not get touched at all in the patch notes. So if you're a person that wants to rank up fast and easy this season, you have to use these team up abilities to abuse. You can either be a person that doesn't want to fit in with the crowd and just get absolutely rolled by these team ups, or you can use these team ups to win you more games. And sometimes the team ups alone will win people games and it feels almost unfair, but that's just the way it goes. Team ups are not just little extra abilities that you get for your team. With some heroes, yes, for example Spider-Man, it's literally just an extra ability, but with the Storm and Thor team up or the Hulk and Iron Man team up, these are team ups that will literally change the tide of a game. Even if your team might play well, you could still get completely rolled by Iron Man. And that's how the meta works for Marvel Rivals. It's a little bit different than Overwatch or other hero shooters where it's just the heroes that are meta. You have to also take in consideration of team ups that are also meta. This is something we've never had to deal before in any other game, but in Marvel Rivals, sometimes the meta team ups are better than the meta heroes. And sometimes these team ups are so powerful, you don't really have to be an expert at the hero. The Iron Man team up is so busted, you don't have to be an insane Iron Man to abuse it. You could be a mediocre Iron Man as long as you're in gold, silver, or bronze. People won't really shoot at you very much. So feel free to try out these team ups with your teammates because this is where the Marvel Rivals metas are going to be based upon. Speaking about meta heroes, or which heroes are dominating your lobbies, that brings me to my next tip, which is enemy counters. There's gonna be times where you get completely rolled by a Psylocke, Iron Man, and you're gonna have to swallow your own pride and understand that whatever hero you're currently playing on isn't working. So if you have an enemy Iron Man going absolutely crazy, you're gonna have to make a switch over to hit scan heroes, primarily Hela, Punisher, or even Star-Lord. These are all hit scan characters that can easily deal with these Iron Men, or at least give them a little bit more run for their money. Now the 4th tip we're gonna go over today is Instalocking is not the problem. Now before you cast your stones and pitchforks at me, Instalocking and staying locked when you are playing absolutely horrible is an absolute no-no. But Instalocking at the very beginning with a hero you are absolutely comfortable with and who you know you're going to perform very well on, that is not a problem. You should be Instalocking at the beginning of every single game, and if you need to switch to get an extra tank or an extra healer, then that's totally fine. For example, I play Psylocke a lot this season, so I've been Instalocking her every single game because me playing her gives us the highest chances of me popping off and carrying the game. But I do understand that there's going to be games where I completely underperform. So in these games where I'm not playing my best, I will switch off to another duelist. For example, if I go 0 and 3 at the beginning of the game, I switch to a different duelist. If I do better on that hero, but I'm not exactly carrying the team to make us win, I will then admit on the microphone, hey, somebody switch with me, I'll play tank or support. Usually during these games, my entire team isn't doing well, so I'll go to the tank with the worst KD and I'll tell him to switch with me on DPS. I can easily carry games on Doctor Strange, so I will try to use that role instead. But then sometimes we still lose. Will I get flamed at the end of the game that I went 0-3 at the very beginning? Probably. But at least I tried to switch heroes, and if that didn't work, I switched roles. That is something that 90% of players will not do. If they go 0-7 on Wolverine, a lot of people will just stay on that Wolverine until the entire game loses. So even if somebody flames you, that's literally just them being very delusional. You tried everything to make it work, it just wasn't your game and it wasn't your team's game. So make sure you go ahead and learn multiple heroes, and that actually brings us to our next point, and that is learning 2 heroes per role. Now you're going to have a primary role that you're going to be the best at. Let's say for example your primary role is tank. You're an insane Doctor Strange main and you're an insane Magneto main, but there's going to be times where you're not going to be able to play tank. So you want to at least be decent at 2 other heroes in another role. And if you're an insane Vanguard, you can easily become a very good duelist. If you have fairly good mechanics and good aim, then you would be very good on Punisher, Hela, Hawkeye. These are heroes that are very easy for anybody to pick up. You can easily learn these heroes by playing the new Doom match, which is basically a free-for-all that you can easily get a lot of reps in. I personally play this game mode to warm up for my games, but you can use this game mode to learn other heroes. Now the 6th tip that I have for you guys is the 3 support meta. With the addition of Invisible Woman this season, there are 4 ults in this game that will literally carry a team fight with the press of a button. All of these ultimates can give your entire team basically immortality for a couple of seconds. Luna Snow being the longest one at 12 whole seconds. And if you have 3 of these supports, you will have basically an entire minute of sustain that will keep your team alive for an entire minute, which is absolutely disgusting. This isn't the most honorable, in my opinion, or the most fun way to play the game, but it is part of the game, so you can abuse it. I don't really see this strategy being used so much yet, but when it does happen, it is an absolute nightmare to deal with, and really the only way to counter it, it's either to go 3 duelists, or you yourself can go 3 supports as well. This usually ends up evening the odds and gives you a much better fighting chance to winning the game. So feel free to try this out with your friends, and if you see this in your games, make sure you also copy them, or you just go 3 duelists. Now the 7th tip that I have for you guys is forcing ultimates. If you've watched some of my recent guides, I have mentioned that you have to keep a mental note on when the enemy ultimates are used. Keeping this mental note on when the enemy support ultimates are being used, this is absolutely essential in Marvel Rivals because the support ultimates are absolutely game winning. Not only do you have to keep a mental note on these support ults, but you have to also force these ultimates out of them. And the best way to force these ultimates out of a Luna Snow or a Cloak and Dagger is you have to pressure them by using flank heroes. Because I play a whole lot of Psylocke, there's a lot of times where I force these Luna Snows to ult too early. Because I get them low HP, they end up using their ultimates a lot earlier than they want to. This brings a lot of value to my team because maybe they wanted to combine that ultimate with something else, and because I forced it out of her really early, they miss an opportunity to combine ultimates. This is a really good strategy for you to do as a duelist because you don't want your ultimate as a duelist to be completely countered by a Luna Snow ult. Speaking of ultimate usage, this brings me to my 8th tip of the video, which is combining ultimates. Now, combining ultimates takes a really big skill for you to pull this off, and that is using your microphone. How else are you going to be able to combine ultimates if you don't use your microphone? Because when Groot stuns them together, you can pull out Armed and Dangerous and literally get a free 4K for your team. How many times have you got hit with an Eye of Avocado and then you just can't do anything, and then you get hit with a Magneto big ball of metal and your entire team just dies? Here's a little bit of a bonus tip for this section, and that is actually staggering your support ultimates. The amount of times that I have seen my Luna Snow and my Cloak and Dagger ultimate at the same exact time, effectively wasting an ultimate. Please, if you are playing support, please call out which ultimate you want to use first, because blowing both support ults at the same time is an absolute waste. Now the 9th tip that I have for you guys is memorizing health packs. This is essential for anyone who plays dive heroes like Black Panther, Psylocke, Spider-Man, because you are so far away from your team most of the time, you have to memorize these health pack locations. So my solution to you is to go into custom game, pull up any map in the game that you don't really know about, and just start walking around in the flank routes, because these are where the health packs are at. The developers of Marvel Rivals gave health packs in these areas specifically for the dive heroes. And a quick positioning tip for you guys, it's kind of like these areas were made for the flank heroes because they gave you these health packs here for a reason. And learning these health pack locations really helps your supports, because that's an extra person that your supports don't have to worry about. Whenever I'm playing Psylocke, my supports don't have to worry about me too much because I just know where the health packs are at, which makes their jobs a lot easier. Now, the next tip I have for you guys is communication. And if you don't like using your microphone, stay on this part of the video, please. Just let me pitch to you why communication is so important in this game. If there are two teams of equal skill level, the team with the most communication will win the game. Almost every lobby that you've seen in Marvel Rivals, the teams are insanely quiet. Why wouldn't you want to get the edge on the enemy team completely for free by just talking into the microphone? It takes no skill to give good callouts. It takes no time to give good callouts. This can make the skill gap between you and the enemy team completely for free. Now, the word IGL stands for in-game leader. If you were to be the IGL of your team, you will gain the respect for your entire team that you had the levels to actually talk to the entire team and make game-winning plays. And you don't have to be some esport coach and give out plays for your team. For example, if you're playing tank, you see a Luna Snow out of position and you want to take her out, you can easily say, hey guys, I'm looking at the Luna. So you can tell your duelist that, hey guys, the Luna is by himself. Let's take him out and focus fire on this Luna. And it is much easier to take out a Luna Snow with multiple heroes aiming at her. And you could even apply this as a duelist, especially if you're playing a flanking duelist. For example, whenever I play Psylocke, I am always telling my team who exactly I am focusing. If I tell my tanks that I am pushing the enemy backline, this gives my tanks a little bit more courage to push forward, knowing that they're not pushing forward by themselves. And me, as a person who loves playing flank heroes, I feed off of my tank's pressure, which I can play off of this pressure by going after the enemy supports, and this all comes from communication. Now, with a strategist, you can make tons of calls as well. A good placed strategist ultimate can easily win a team fight, so you can tell your entire team, hey guys, I have Cloak and Dagger ult, we can push forward, we can play more aggressive. This will give your team tons of confidence knowing that we have a game-saving ultimate if things go south. If you're on this Wakanda map, I highly suggest to you, when you're using your microphone, to tell your team to go through this specific route on the left side with the staircase, because this is a much easier route to go through instead of that stupid chokehold on the right side doorway, which is literally a Penny Parker's dream when they set up their mines there. While this left side with the stairs literally takes you to point with all the cover in the world and completely for free. You can even take the little bridge and flank around if you're a duelist. And this all comes from a simple call out of, guys, let's take the staircase instead. For example, if we look at this Vaughn right here, we were about to lose this game and we had only one push left. I told my entire team, let's go on the left side. There's no reason for us to go through the main chokehold. So we did so, and that's what made us win the fight. Now, the last reason why communication is so important, and this is probably the most important part of this, and that is nobody can really flame you or get mad at you when you are the one IGLing the entire time. There's been games where me and my entire team gets completely just smashed. I played horribly, my tank played horribly, everyone just played horribly. But I communicated the entire time, I remained positive the entire time, I always threw new strategies, I switched roles, I switched heroes. By the end of the game, I tried everything that I possibly could to win that game. It just wasn't our game. And maybe by the end of these games, I will get flamed because I wasn't carrying on Psylocke as they wanted me to. But this person has no reason to complain when I was the one making callouts, making strategic plays. I switched my hero, I switched my role. I was the only person literally trying to keep us into the game. And the one time this person wants to actually communicate, it is through a keyboard at the last 5 seconds of the game to complain. So if you were to be an IGL or just be communicative in the entire game, even in your losses, there's no reason for anybody to flame you. Now, the 11th tip that I have for you guys today is knowing when you are countered. Knowing when you are being countered and when you are not playing too well is a blessing in of itself. And with the way how some of these ranked games goes, when my Wolverine is not switching when he's going 7 and 12, it drives me insane. So please, for the love of everything that is good, if you are being countered, whether if you're playing Iron Man and the enemy team is going Punisher and he's cooking you, or if you're playing Punisher and the enemy Black Panther is absolutely destroying you, you have to take accountability and just understand like, hey guys, I gotta switch. And after you switch to another hero, if that doesn't work, then that's when you start switching up to a different role. And I'm here to tell you there's going to be games where you get absolutely rolled, where you just get hard countered and you can't really do much about it. And if you're trying to play a 2+ hour rank session, it's better to save your own mental health for that game, because you have to remember this whole ranked grind is a marathon, not a sprint. And if you want to play more ranked games tonight, it's not worth the mental stress to constantly force your way out of things. So always be willing to try something new and just try different compositions. And if you're losing really badly in the game, why not lose the game just trying something out? That brings me to my next tip, is that composition doesn't matter. Don't worry so hard on trying to have a 2-2-2 composition. There is no perfect god tier composition. Earlier in this video, I talked about how good a 3 support meta really is, but there has been times, very rarely, where a 3 support meta completely fumbles, whether it's on my team or the enemy team. There's been plenty of times where I've seen a 3 duelist, 1 tank, and 2 support combo. And especially if you're in the lower ranks like gold, silver, bronze, in these ranks, composition most definitely does not matter. Because at these ranks, it's basically the wild, wild west. Everyone just kind of does their own thing. You can easily carry these lower ranked games based off of just your skill alone. So team composition and strategy doesn't come much in these lower ranked games. There are some strategic compositions out there, but don't worry about them too much, especially if you're in the ranks below platinum. Now, the next tip I have for you guys is much more of a mental one, and that is 30% of your games are going to be unwinnable. If you go into all of your ranked games and you count 10 of them, there's going to be around 2 or 3 of them where you kind of just scratch your head at and just be like, how can you win this game? Whether it was you were going insane in this game and your teammates just weren't pulling their own weight, or you were being completely stomped and it felt like you couldn't do anything. Those are going to be the 30% of your games that are just feel impossible to win. And no matter how good you get at this game, as long as you don't have a 6 stack, there's going to be times where you're just gonna lose games simply because the odds are just not in your favor. So don't stress so much about those games that just felt unwinnable. It's just part of the process. Those games are going to happen, but by the law of averages, you'll eventually start winning 50% of your games. And in this game, all you need to win is 50% of your games, because you gain more than you lose in this game for the most part. Now, of course, we all want to win a little bit more than that, but the better you get in your skill level, definitely you can get for that 60% to 70% range. Now, this 14th tip that I have for you guys is for my flank heroes out there. How many times have you played Black Panther, Psylocke, Iron Fist, any one of those flank heroes where you go and you flank the back line and it just seems like the entire enemy team collapses on you, and it's just like every time you dive, you just get absolutely smacked on? That, my friend, is an example of poor timing. Now, what do I mean by timing? There is a specific time where you should dive the enemy backline where you can get the most value out of it. And this small opening of timing comes from the pressure that your tanks are inflicting on the enemy team. You as a flank hero has to take advantage of the pressure from your tank. So every time you have dove the enemy backline and you just got completely smacked on by 3 or more heroes, those heroes were not distracted by your tank. That either means you went too early or too late, or your tank just isn't aggressive enough. Again, this ties back to, again, communication, as I talked about earlier in this video, where you have to tell your team when you are diving. So whoever's playing tank can know when to be aggressive. Now, with some flank heroes, you don't have to dive full-heartedly. If you're playing more medium range flank heroes like Star-Lord or Psylocke, you could be on an off angle on the side of the enemy team, just shooting from an angle. This will force enemy utility that could have been used on your team, but instead they're using it on you. For example, if you see see an enemy Namor, you can do damage to this Namor, and if you get him to a low enough HP, he will then have to use his shift ability, which is the ability that makes him turn into a big ball in the sky, to then force that enemy utility, which he could have used that on your own teammates. You can even shoot the enemy supports on this off angle, essentially limiting the healing supply to the enemy tanks. What do you think creates more pressure for the enemy tank? You doing damage to them, which they're just gonna get healed up anyway, or depleting their health supply? Obviously, taking away their health supply, aka their healers, will do much better for your team. And you don't have to take out these enemy healers, just you sitting on that off angle and just shooting them, getting them distracted, limiting their healing can still bring tons of value for your team. And now for my final tip for this video is to simply have fun and to make friends. Playing solo queue in Marvel Rivals is absolutely dreadful, and it just isn't worth your mental health to put at risk. So I highly advise you to join my Discord, link in the description, because I have over 1,000 members in there that are in bronze, silver, gold, platinum. And if you're in any of these ranks, you can add these people, make friends, you can join one of my VCs, and you guys can grind rank together with all the communication in the world, which if you watched earlier in this video, communication is so important, and ranked is so much easier to deal with when you're dealing it with friends. Anyways guys, that concludes this video. If you enjoy long form educational content like this, please hit that like button and subscribe if you made it to this far into the video. If there's anything you're struggling on, let me know down in the comments and maybe I'll make a video on it. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace!